Good morning, good morning, people. Good morning, good morning. And how are we today? Wow, boy, I kind of like just waking up. I just got out of my sofa. I'm in my living room. I fell asleep outside and go in my bedroom. And good morning. I just feel a need to share some information with you guys, my usual viewers out there. Yeah, today is Sunday. Beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning. Just after 9 a.m. Yeah, about 9:06, 9:08 a.m. July 23rd, 2023. Good morning. Yeah, I'm doing some, yes, good morning, viewer. Good morning. I think this is going to be a fantastic live stream. I know it's early morning. Oh, I just want to share this information. I'm not even sure exactly how I want to present it. Good morning, people. Yes, you're here today on my live stream because you are probably looking for the same answer. Yeah, I call this channel Spirit Journey. And wow, I just feel like an awareness. And I know that it's priceless. Yeah, yeah. And you know, guys, I do kind of take a long time for me to get my thoughts out. But you're here today, this morning, because you're looking for answers too. And I just want to share what's on my mind. I entitled this live stream, Am I Successful? My Journey into Reality and Illusions. I put on today's date. And I'm just I took the blanket over from over my head. I fell asleep in my living room. I had a video playing in the background, and I'm having awarenesses. People, are we? How do you know people if you're successful or not? Um, I'm born and raised in New York City, and all my life, I was feeling like, if you have ask these questions, when you grow up, you want to be a rich person. You want, you want maybe prestige, what they call prestige. You're not anybody unless you've been around the world, or you go to this luxury resort somewhere, or you go to paradise, you walk around. And I just want to share with you some, I'm having another awakening about this. I say that upfront, that people, this life is an illusion. Did you know that some of you may feel poor and needy? Maybe you don't even have enough food for your family, but yet you have some things that might be considered rich. Like, let's say you are a so-called third world person, and you have, let's say you plant cocoa beans. And we know that in the so-called Western world, that there are people who purchase cocoa, because cocoa, that makes chocolate. Those products are made they come from the tropics. They grow only in hot places, and just certain areas in the world would have these products. And these people who buy the raw material to make their high-end chocolate from, let's say, Switzerland, and then they sell, they make the chocolate candy bars or whatever, and then they sell it to Western markets at exuberant prices, that um, they have such a markup. But yet the people who had the cocoa beans, where it's originated from, um, they're like like living in squalor. They get, they get pennies on the dollar, pennies on the dollar, the worth. Um, so how is that the person who's um, growing the product, how come they're not wealthy? And but yet the Westerner who takes the raw materials and then does something to it and then sells it back to the world. This is part of the secret, people. This is part of the secret that you need to hear. Okay. I'm starting to come to a new awareness. I had an event that happened to me uh almost a week, maybe a week and a half. I had, yeah, 2 weeks ago today, I had done a fast, a food fast, the traditional food fast. You don't eat, and you just drink water or tea, whatever. Well, my process of doing that resulted in me getting ketosis, and I found out about the ketosis in a nick of time. You can die from ketosis, and it it led to, I was scared because I had I called a family member. So oh my God, that I was doing a fast and I'm in ketosis. I had explained to what ketosis was, and I'm on my way to the ER room to get treated for this. I was ambulatory. I felt relatively fine. I was heading out to bed actually, and something, I had completed the 3-day fast, and that particular day was the day I had something to eat for the first time after 3 days. Um, and to find out I was in a medical or potential medical emergency, raced to the hospital, and then I just did it overnight. They just, they said that my body, was stabilized and I could just go home and, see your primary care physician, blah, blah, blah. So that, which I did. So I was taking it easy for this past week and a half. Um, I'm eating more frequently just to make sure my body doesn't go into ketosis. And I eat from all the food groups, the protein, fats, and starches, just to get my body back on the swing of a so-called normal diet, uh, and led me to thinking inside, thinking more profoundly. Um, I had an opportunity to speak to someone, uh, a relative, a family member. I haven't spoken to this person for over 20 something years. I never had a real conversation with this person in my, just baby talk, I call it. But I never really had an adult conversation with this person. And it led me to, reach out to this person. And I spoke to other people, and a more appreciation. I felt a little liberated because I had this on my heart for quite a while. It is part of my healing process to let go and forgive. That is a big thing. So in that process of me letting go and being freer with myself, being a happier person, um, I I um I s- I s- I had opportunity to talk about, you know what happened in our lives growing up. And I fell asleep outside I mean, I had a profound conversation with this person, and then I also turns out this person likes watching similar programs on YouTube. And I fell asleep with a program on, and it was about your life. It says, find your life purpose, and when you feel depressed or such and such, so it was, so I woke up with that video playing in the background, and the person was saying about, oh, how'd it go now? Um, they were given a story about a man who had a business partner, and they said they created a product, uh, uh, what do you call it? Shock cartilage. You know, the cartilage from a shock, and that is supposed to cure people of cancer. You know, that's what they thought. But this person wound up getting cancer. And so the doctor that was treating this patient felt dejected because how they weren't able to help this person, and the doctors have egos, and so what could they do? So he figured, talk to his patient, just try to talk to him and find out what he's going through emotionally. And the doctor asked him, I said, look, you're taking so much of this shock or shock cartilage. Um, why are you doing this? So the guy says, well, I'm taking the this cartilage, shock cartilage, because I have a business partner, and they'll be, I don't want to disappoint them. Um, so the doctor was just like, what? So here, this person is dying of cancer, but yet he's taking such an over amount. So I kind of thought that perhaps him taking the cartilage, shock cartilage, was what maybe attributed to him getting the cancer. But he doesn't want to disappoint his friend, and he wants to continue taking this product. And so, like, why do we do what we do? Here you in a medical situation, you're dying because of X, Y, and Z, and you're preoccupied with what your business partner may think about you if you don't take this product that's not even helping you, and maybe might have even contributed to your demise. So it's like, wow, so it's like about success. So for him, this person's level of important, feeling of importance was based on other people's opinion on life and what helped you. Yeah, good morning, viewer. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, this is an interesting show, and that this conversation may, in fact, help you, and it's helping myself about the awareness of, am I a successful person, and reality and illusions that are in our lives that run us. So here, this man that's dying of cancer felt like, well, he can't show that he failed to his business partner who doesn't have cancer, but here he wants to let his friend feel that they're successful, and that you know he still has the up and up, but he didn't. And the thing was making him smell. He was so much, he consumed so much of this product that you can smell it on him. This sharp cartilage that went throughout his whole system, that's making him even offenses to be physically around. So so um, so I was listening to the program when I woke up this morning. My video was playing in the background, and I'm still lying on my sofa in my living room, and I'm hearing this conversation. This man who's dying of cancer, taking this product, you know, and then I started thinking about my life. I said, what's the problem in my life? Yes, I'm on this spiritual journey. Um, what is going on? And how come? When will I know if I ever would be so-called successful? Um, I had an opportunity. I was thinking back on my life. I said, I used to live in a place called Hawaii. And you know how many people save up their life savings to go visit a place like Hawaii? I had an opportunity, I went there to live for job opportunities. Um, I was blacklisted in New York City, and I needed to find work. I could not get work here, and I felt I was forced out of New York City and to start my life somewhere else. And I don't do well in the cold, and I live in New York City. And um, for me to look for work in my field, I had two fields that I was in: my administrative work, and then my uh, pastry arts. Making desserts and breads and things like that. That was my other specialty that I was new in. So I went to Hawaii to try to look for work in the field of baking and all this, sweets and things like that, and to start my life there. And and it's warm there in Hawaii, and so I'll be able to take if I have to take a test or whatever. I felt that I had a chance to get a job there, pay off my bills, et cetera, and be like everybody else having a 9 to 5 job. I get there, and I slowly was getting more and more into debt, and I didn't know. I was on survival mode. Things happened very quickly for me there. Within a 14-day period, I landed a job and a place to live. I rented a room in a house. It was what you call old-fashioned plantation house in Hawaii. Hawaii is an agricultural state, and they do also have cattle there. And back in the day when the island was taken over by Europeans, they it seemed like the sugarcane industry was the cash crop. They also grow pineapple there, and macadamia nuts. It grew, and also it has cattle there also. And um, so I landed a job in the tourist section. Um, Living in a room in a house. I was the only female in that house, and most of the people there were, they were all white men, young white men. Uh, One was older. I was in my 30s, and the other people, many of them were like in their 20s, and one guy, two other guys in their 40s and 50s. Uh, the oldest guy, he was what you would consider a beach bum, in his day. He had the surfboard, you know, old sleek dog type of guy he was. Inside, he didn't like. He was a grumpy guy, but he also uh, had heart as well. And but with him you couldn't tell he would, because I think drugs, um, not that he was using then, but by the time you hit in your 50s and you're one of those so-called beach bum time, you're burned out. And a lot of the white people that moved to Hawaii are from California, the West Coast. I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just saying the demographics there. They are running away from what they're running away from, and many of them escape with uh, doing drugs, heavy drugs or alcohol or both. And me, I was there because I needed to find a 9 to 5 job for survival. And so I got I found a room that was in walking distance. It was on the shore, walking distance to where all the restaurants and all that. And I found a job. Second, I had rented a car initially for about 3 days because I had to register. I'm a veteran, and I registered at the what do you call it? They have a veteran center. They can help you, look for a job, look for a place. It's a resource center, and it's all free for veterans. And then I also registered at the Department of Labor. If back in the day, you went to the Department of Labor to look for work and stuff like that. And they have a division in the Department of Labor. Just letting you guys know, any veterans out there or people who know veterans, let them know the Department of Labor has a division for veterans, and you get catered to. So I registered these places to help facilitate my transition into working there. So again, within 14 days, uh, I had a job and a place to live, but I was on autopilot. I needed a second job because I was incurring more bill. Yeah, when you sometimes when you feel like you have to get out of debt, you become more in debt to pay off a debt. And part of that was I felt I needed a second job. And the vet representative said, "Hey, you can try. I know a place out in such and such. I'll drive you there." He helped me get a job at one of the most luxurious uh, hotel, a resort on the island. Is on the north part of the island. Um, yeah, I think it's called Kapalua Bay Hotel. I think they changed the setup of that resort. But honey, if you want to feel like you're somebody, you're so rich, whatever, honey, that's the place you go. It was opulence of opulence. And uh, my vet representative helped me get a job there. And the guy in charge was a Japanese man. And he was a very stereotype, older, old school Japanese man who doesn't smile, real mean looking. He didn't seem to like me at all, but he helped me get the job. My uh, veterans rep was a Hawaiian man, and he facilitated between my getting a job there. And um, I lasted there, people. Being real. I lasted there maybe 2 weeks at the most. I got the job at the end of the holiday season, and the first week of January, I lost the job. And here to get to that job, I had to purchase a vehicle. I not purchase. I leased a a truck. Now I'm not into driving. I'm not the best driver. I'm a very nervous driver, and I went to work. I tried different things to get to the job. Um, I knew I needed the second job because I needed more money, and because I lived in town, and I was in walking distance to my first job, but I needed more money. So first I purchased a bicycle. Uh, I couldn't bicycle over there. It was too long for me to get to and too hilly. Then I got a moped. It was a bright yellow canary moped, brand new. I think it cost me $1,500. I had some cash on me when I got down there, just for food or incidentals, to that I could rely on. Um, that only lasts for a short while. I'm a nervous driver, and the guy said, I knew you were going to do this, and he helped me sell the moped. And then I said, okay, I'm forced to get a vehicle, so I went to a place, a dealership, and they said they have a special, and we'll rent to you. I mean, we'll lease you out this vehicle. And they told me the terms of the lease agreement. I never had a lease before on a vehicle. The car that I had prior to there, in my past, was an old jalopy. I paid cash for it. It was 1300 or $1,500. I paid cash for it, and it gave me a lot of headaches. But that was my history with cars. So now I had to encounter another bill to get to the job. Well, honey, that didn't work. And I lost two jobs, the jobs the same week, 2 days apart. So I think like the first job, I lost the job on the 5th of January, and the other one was on the 7th of January, something like that. Because, after the holiday season, um, they cut back. They might hire more people, but so that happened. And I begged them. I begged the hotel, because I worked in the restaurant portion of the resort. I begged the Japanese man. I said, "Please, please, just give me any job there. Even be a maid there. Anything, please. I need this job." I wasn't afraid to grovel. I mean, I just incurred a lease, and you have to pay. They'll garnish your car from you if you don't pay. Yeah, and then how could I get to any job, right? I begged him. And he just looked at me real mean. He never spoke to me. He was just a grumpy old Japanese man. And no, I'm not anti-Japanese. I'm just saying what it was. He didn't like me for whatever reason. And um, it was like I committed the worst sin, you know. I bust my ass there. I wanted to please. But why I mention about this job? Okay. It was in a luxury hotel. And I did baking there. And now this is a five-star hotel and probably the equivalent of the restaurant stars, like I think a four-star restaurant is the highest number you can get in a restaurant, and the resort, it was like a five-star resort. The guy, like, he was showing me around. He was the executive chef of this establishment, and it was his pride and joy. He was on cloud nine. It was like it was his property, so that he had such pride for this company, and that he was the executive chef of the whole restaurant. There's a series of restaurants at the resort, and he was in charge of everything. And also, he was a Black American man. And why I say it like that, not because I'm using the race card too much, but I'm just giving it incidental. I'm a Black woman, and he was a Black man. And I went to the resort, with my Hawaiian representative, and to get a job there, a second, to so because I needed more than one job to support myself. And they had a notice on the wall, all the because it's all union jobs, and they in the union they have to post up all the jobs that's available. And I just, back in those days, you went to human resource and you fill out an application. That's how it was done 20 something years ago. And so I applied for the pastry job, and I got the interview with my Hawaiian representative. And then I was interviewed by the executive chef, and the executive chef had a pastry chef there. The executive chef is over everybody. Okay. And since I was applying for the pastry job, I had to be, interviewed. Both men are there. The other guy was of another race, uh, and he was not a white man either, just putting it out there. But he didn't like me. And um, he said, well, we should test her if she can cook. Now, I had my credentials. I had all my, my resumes, but I knew how to apply for a job back then. That's, you know, I may not have had the skill to keep a job. I knew how to get the top jobs. Just put it out there. So he said, that won't be necessary. She has a good resume, blah, blah, blah. She's a graduate from this cooking school. She got the job, you know. Now, this particular pastry chef didn't like me, and he verbalized what he felt about me, people of my color. And He was disappointed that I got the job and that he wanted his fellow X, Y, and Z to get the job. But why XYZ didn't get the job? Now, he could have applied for the job. It was on the wall, but see, I think, he had a bad attitude, people. He had a funky attitude. He was younger than me, but he was very bitter and he just had a chip on his shoulder, and he couldn't do anything. He couldn't move up to the next level because of this particular quality, even though the pastry chef wanted him to get that position. I don't know, maybe that he it was required that he be in the position, his current position, for a number of years. I don't know, but he couldn't apply for it. And I was from the outside, and I was just randomly applying for the job, and that's all it was. And I got depressed. In a nutshell, I got depressed, and I felt I couldn't perform well because of the harassment I was getting from the pastry chef. And the pastry chef embarrassed the executive chef. He says, "Oh, look at her work. Her work is piece of you know what, and look at it." Blah, 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 blah. And to save face with the guy, because um, black people aren't supposed to want to hire one another, and I think it would have come across, well, you only have her, or you only hired her because of her race. I applied for the job. No one else was applying for the job. I came at the right time at the right place, right place at the right time. And um, so I lost the job there. I was devastated. So even though now this was a luxury place, and I did my best to keep the job, but I think the weight on me, and I'm very sensitive. I didn't use potty words back then like I might use now. I was very, very extremely timid and shy. And so, what does all this have to do about success and all that, and reality and illusions? Well, the was I successful? Well, I was working at a fancy place. I lived at a fancy place where most people, I think, in the Western world would die for. I had a job in my field. I mean, I was relatively new in my field. I, I was just in the field for a little over 1 year, just a little over 1 year. And while I was in pastry school, I worked in the field to get me more exposure and experience. And then this was my second job outside of school. Yeah, yeah, this was my second job outside of school, and I mean, I thought I was supposed to be happy. I had the job, the killer job in my field. Um, I was living at a place, I mean, on an island that was um, very nice. But the illusions. Now, the illusion with that job was, well, um, how is that I got the job, but not the guy, the pastry chef's assistant. What was his problem? He had a nice little job. He did beautiful work. I saw his work. So what was the problem? Well, the illusion was um, he didn't feel right. He felt inadequate. And the illusion was I was taken away from the his potential of getting up there in the world. I had nothing to do with what was going on in his head. I was not the problem, but the illusion was I was in the way of his success. The other illusion was I was working at an establishment that most people couldn't even afford to even live there at the resort. I mean, I didn't live in the resort. but I worked there and I had access to go to different areas on the resort. Even the water of that, I hope you guys could hear me. I see we got a viewer there. Give me a one for yes that you understand what I'm getting at, what I'm trying to develop here about what is success, reality and illusions that we live in. Here I was creating the illusion of, create a picture of success, getting a good, cozy job, um, having access to eat at one of the finest dining imaginable on the planet. Um, and here the bubble burst, and I needed remember, I started there because I needed to get a second job, and I was willing to get a third job. I was struggling. I wasn't enjoying my life there. I was on autopilot, and the illusion of my when I got the job pulled away from me. But I had an opportunity maybe a year or so later. Yeah, that was early in the year. I think the end of that year, because my birthday is at the end of the year. Okay, so almost 12 months go by, and I want to celebrate my birthday. And I wanted the illusion of eating at that restaurant because they had this guy sing there, and the illusions with that, the guy that they had that sang, the Hawaiian songs with the ukulele. He had a beautiful voice, but you know what this guy looked like? I'm not trying to hate on anybody, but this is part of the illusion, people. If you didn't look at what the guy looked like, you'll think he's some real, uh, good looking, slender person. But this person looked like, you ever saw the show Fat Albert? The big guy who played Fat Albert, the cartoon. He was like really looked like, that's what this guy looked like. Yeah. He did, the illusion of, you hear somebody's voice singing, oh, you feel like, oh my God, what you would do to see what the guy looks like or go out with him. And oh, the illusion they created at that restaurant was luxury upon luxury, and a soothing, beautiful Hawaiian singing voice. And he didn't look anything like what they were selling. Um, and also in Hawaii, they have a different standard of beauty than what they call the Western world. And in Hawaii, I'm sure I'm saying something for someone that they might need to hear this. You know, they don't mind about weight in Hawaii. You could be 400 pounds, 300 pounds. You're not considered ugly if you're overweight. Um, many, excuse me, many of the people there in Hawaii are way big. But interesting about reality and illusions, when they are promoting the state of Hawaii and as a vacation spot, what do they show? They show young, slender people with, women with long hair that move graceful and this and that, and sell the illusion of beauty. But the standard of the people that actually live there, the indigenous people, and there's a lot of racial mixing there also. You have a lot of mixed races, Asian Pacific mixes there, and they create the illusion of the ethnic native Hawaiians performing for the Westerners that come and look at them, right? I'm just being upfront about the illusion. And so my birthday was approaching, and I said, I want to eat there for my birthday. So I go there, I make reservation, I think, and I ate in the area. Yeah, they had some fantastic food there. I mean, I think that was the same place they had lobster. I used to eat lobster. Um, yeah, I remember they had like a whole slew of these lobster. I mean, a luxury, baby. It was so yeah. And the waiters would sneak the food also and share it with their buddies. I'm being real. What it was. Yeah, everybody got their hand in that thing, and I wanted the fantasy of eating at a fine dining area, and my waiter came. I think it was a man, young man, and yeah, I used to, he used to work there. He was there at the time I worked there. And I said, "Yeah, I'm just celebrating my birthday today. And, I used to work here. And I always want to know what it's like to eat here, because, working here, but actually eating here, blah, 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 blah." And I think I had dessert also. And you know what happened at the end of the time there? He said, "It's on the house. You don't have to pay anything. It's on the house." And I was so grateful. And I got the fantasy to eat at a place that I could only dream about. And so I got there. But then I started thinking about my other part of my life, because I was watching, I fell asleep in my living room with a video playing about it was entitled Find Your Purpose. And when you feel, when you feel depressed and lonely, and I felt that's how I felt at that time. I was depressed, living in Hawaii on the island of Maui. um, I was encountering a lot of things, and I couldn't get out of the trap, the trap of poverty. I felt mentally impoverished. When you don't have enough money for food, I mean, I ate every day, but I was losing weight. I'm already a slim person, and then I was losing weight on top of it. Um, I I mean, I had found other work after that restaurant, and when I lost both jobs in 1 week. So I was back to square one to race for a job, to get a job. And yeah, I found a job within a month, and it was in retail. I never did retail at that time. And so it was at a jewelry company. And I don't want to say any more about the specific company, because those people who do their research, you know what company I was working at. But it was in the jewelry and retail, selling high end jewelry. It was a fun job. And then I got a job across the street from there too, in the restaurant industry, baking, doing making desserts. It was like at a burger place, and they had everything was made scratch there. And the same thing happens. So here I thought I was catching up, paying my bills on the leased vehicle, and then it happens again. These tests. I was being tested, and it was a horrible test. We're always being tested, people, if you didn't know, um, because it's going to open up certain doors and experiences. You're going to meet, as a result, certain people as a result of certain experiences that you encounter. And let me get a sip of water. Hold on. Excuse me. I didn't know what to do. And here, it goes again. I'm a good person, I thought. I mind my own business. I'm always early. I do my job. I was taught by my father, you go to work, you do your hours and leave. And so that's what I did. Do my job, do whatever what is told of you to do, and then leave. Well, sometimes that's not enough. And sometimes, you actually being tested. And maybe that's what was happening to me. I was being tested. Also, there is the racial component. I was usually only a Black American there. Um, and you have people who don't feel that you deserve to be there. I think deep down I intimidated certain people. I was tall, taller than most people. I was very slender. The so-called um, looks that would be considered successful, but I always downplayed my looks, always. And I feel that I downplayed my looks because uh, a lot of people are insecure. I mean, I was very insecure in myself as well, but I didn't want to put attention to myself. I try to like hide the way I looked. I didn't dress fancy. I was really boring to look at. But whether I look boring, uh, people still felt intimidated by me and would do things to sabotage me. I'm just saying what it is, what happened. I'm not trying to pity party, but I'm just sharing you the atmosphere for what I had to overcome. Um, so so now I'm at a I have two new jobs, and I'm trying to make something out of my life in this new place called Hawaii. And life happened to me. So why did this happen? Was I successful? Um, I didn't feel that I was successful, and I feel I was constantly being bombarded, but I was always issued a new opportunity. Yeah, that it was weird how it worked. Um, like I said, I had lost those two jobs. Again, because I had two jobs when I first arrived, when I arrived on the island, lost both of them within a week, from each other. And then months down the road, I acquired two new jobs. Then I lost those two jobs. And then my last trimester on that island, I lasted almost 3 years there. I got another, interesting. I'm just realizing this now. I was given another test, people. I was I had gotten a job and then another job at the same uh the businesses was on the same property. And again, I was at a luxury, where the millionaires live. Yeah, people will have they have these what you call like a gated community. And to build homes here, you have to get it approved. Even you have to get approved what type of plants you're going to plant there. And I have administrative background as well as my pastry. Again, coincidentally, uh, the first job at that, the trimester of my stay in Hawaii was administrative, and then I got which one? Yeah, one I got through an agency, and another one I went to the guy, the restaurant. It was a Japanese restaurant. I had a cool boss. He was a young Japanese guy. Yeah, I like the young Japanese people are wonderful, wonderful people. But those old fogies, boy, ooh, they're spooky. They know how to look at you real mean and try to intimidate you. But you have the young people. Like I was in my 30s, so he could have easily been in his 20s. He looked real, real young. He said, "Hey, I bet I look real young to you, huh?" And he said, "Yeah." We got along extremely well. Well, honey, I'm just being real, people. See, a lot of fake people out there, they don't want to see. I don't mind sharing about my life because, see, I am about breaking through the illusions and try to cut through, what is reality and am I successful? All these things are all part of the illusion of success. And if you can answer the question for yourself, resolve it, then you're on a good foundation. I'm just sharing with some enlightenments that I encountered this morning, and I just had to share it. So yeah, and and oftentimes when I speak to you guys, um, I'm actually getting my oh, awareness as I'm talking it out to you. Yeah, I'm actually having enlightenment talking to you and analyzing what happened to me. That I'm just now just realizing there were sets of twos, people, twos, twos, twos in my life. And the last trimester of my stay there in Hawaii, I was there for almost 3 years. This was the last trimester. Two jobs again. And one was, it was a contract um, for X number of weeks, like a month, I think it was. 1 or 2 months. I finished the contract, but they didn't say, okay, this is ending. I think they were, they wanted me to stay, but they didn't say so. And the other job, I got scared. People, I got scared of the test. See, the other two trimesters, um, it's something that happened to me, and I was trying to fight it. Well, the last trimester of the test I realized now it's a test. I was given a test in Hawaii, and the test was, do you really want to stay here? Do you enjoy this illusion? And the illusion was, oh, I'm an American girl living in Hawaii, in on the island, beautiful island of Maui, and do I want to stay here because I want to show off so I can tell family and so-called friends that, oh, I live on the island of Hawaii, or Maui. Are you really happy there? I wasn't happy there. I got stressed out. The test I was given was, I had the perfect boss this time, a young Japanese guy, and we got along real well. And I think people were jealous of our relationship. I was there just for a couple of days. I was there, people, for 3 days, and I walked out. I say it right. I mean, I'm being honest. I got overwhelmed. I said, I I know I won't be able to please this guy. Here's a really nice guy, laid back. I was overwhelmed because this was Japanese food. It was a high-end Japanese restaurant, and I was to be his assistant with he was the executive chef, a young executive chef. He was in charge of every operation in that kitchen, the desserts and the food, regular food. He was in charge of it all, and he trusted me. He liked me, and I told him, I said, I can't work here anymore. He says, what's going on? Why? He says, I I I can't please. I don't think I can please you. I'm scared about. I just made every excuse. He says, please, I don't expect you to know this job in 3 days. Please stay. I left it. And after I left it, I said, am I insane? I feel I lost my mind. I'm being real, people. Um, I see that I was given the opportunity to correct what happened to me the first and second trimester of me living there in Hawaii. And I was so conditioned and brainwashed that I felt I couldn't do anything right. This guy, I passed his test because at that job I was tested. Yeah, the young Japanese dude said, "Oh, I like you to make this recipe," and I was all nervous and everything. I made it to his satisfaction. He just said, "Just a little bit less of the alcohol in it." Yeah, I poured a little bit too much alcohol in the recipe by accident. He said, "Other than that, it's perfect." So I passed this test, a Japanese man's test. I passed it with flying colors, but it let me know just a little bit less of the alcohol. Yeah, Japanese don't like strong food. They like everything very gentle, very light spices, very, very light, you know. Here, I was in a high-end Japanese. I worked at a Japanese resort. They owned. It was what do you call it? A resort or a whole. They owned the whole property, and the property had this Japanese garden there, and then the lunch. Oh God, it was so beautiful. And that other place, I did administrative work for the same company, and they were in charge of the. I had to deal with architectures, and most architects are all men. People who do construction and landscaping. These are so-called man's job, and they would have these yelling competition. Yeah, yeah. I was locked in a room with these dudes from the mainland, white guys from the middle-aged guys, 40s, 50s from the mainland, yelling on the top of their heads, trying to decide who can have what property, what utilize certain materials for their homes, the color, they had to prove the color of a particular thing. They had to prove the type of plant they wanted to plant in their yard, everything, everything. And I had a meltdown. And I said, I can't take, you know, so once the contract of that assignment ended, I never came back. They didn't say not to come back. And then the other, so what happened? That sometimes you are your worst enemy. And the illusions of what is nice and all that, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. And I convinced myself that I wasn't worthy enough, even though the last job, the last trimester, I was tested by that Japanese man. And I passed his test. Japanese would tell you right off, you didn't pass the test. I passed his test. Just a little less of the alcohol, but you got the job. And he wanted to work with me. I wanted to, but I got so scared that, oh my God, that I'm not worthy enough to work for this man. I took myself out of a job. And the other job, they didn't tell me not to come back. I did the contract that I got through the agency with the administrative job at the people who handle the uh, residents. And these are all $1 million homes. And I just couldn't take it. And the test was, um, if things were present, I mean, you're going to be tested, but both jobs tested me in different ways. I also had to work with this prejudiced white woman, um, who would say, "Oh, I always wanted to be a black person." She's from white girl from California, and she wants to pretend certain I couldn't people I couldn't I know might sound funny. I couldn't take working with this white lady. She was the only female there, and then I had to work with the guys that was in the architecture and the construction work, all those people. I couldn't take it. I Every day, you had I had to do the minutes of the meetings, and it was just too much for me hearing the construct, the people yelling for in a small room, hearing them yell at each other, and then working with the prejudiced white lady from the mainland who liked to say that she always wanted to be a black person and all this. I said, I'm out of here. So what did I learn? What am I learning about this experience? Um, don't take things so personal. I needed to learn how to laugh at the people there. Uh, if someone is for you, don't shoot yourself in the foot like I did. It seemed like I was programmed, like all the so-called failures that I had there in Hawaii that was out of my control. and I did a good job, but I got worn out. And then here, the last test, another two jobs, both very different from each other, and I was so scared of failing that I failed myself, and I left both jobs. And I thought I was going to have a mental breakdown then, so to speak. As tongue in cheek, I say that. Um, I came back to New York. Well, I thought, well, let me just try one more time. I said no. I said no. I said I'm coming back home. But what did I learn about that? That uh, we may make excuses about our lives, and you're going to be tested in life. Some people are tested using the race card. Like they might say, "Oh, I didn't succeed in life because of my race," or let's say because of my gender, or the education. And we're going to be presented these things. And we also internalize what is considered successful or not. Uh, like I had an opportunity to I worked in a house that with the last Trinity job. The place that we worked was in a luxury house. The house was made into like an office space. So I said, "Oh wow, you can have a business in a regular house." It was really cute. It had a spectacular Japanese garden view. And so after the yelling escapades of the architectures and the construction people, etc., I had an opportunity to have my lunch hour at the Japanese garden and getting away from that racist white woman that liked to tell me how much she always wanted to be a black person when she was a child and all that crap. I had to chill out. I mean, it's actually funny when you think about it, people. People, don't you think that's actually something to laugh at? That isn't it stupid? And then you get a Japanese boss who wants you there. You pass this test. Of course, I don't speak Japanese, and yes, I had to learn the menu. I got over my head. I was just burnt out. After 3 years, I got burned out. But about success, each of the journey here in Hawaii, I was given a test. I had the opportunity, what it's like to work in a luxury place where people spend millions of dollars to live there, or what it's like to eat at a place. Money. Now, um, there are people like um, there are people who determine success based on what they're wearing, and I had that experience too. Um, Now, there are people who say, "Oh, so and so's better than me because they have let's say a fur coat." Or what about success? Like I mentioned earlier in the live stream, that like luxury items like luxury chocolates. But the people who are selling the chocolate, who grow the cocoa beans to make the chocolate, they're living in poverty. So, what's real? How could somebody be poor, but they're selling their product, and that other person make millions of dollars? People, we're being hoodwinked. We are being fooled. We are being fooled. That person who's grown those cocoa beans, I mean, cocoa beans, or maybe they're master weaver. They can weave a a wool blanket with the cashmere of cashmere blankets, and to buy it is in the thousands. But you have people who can buy it, So how come the people who make it aren't rich? They're in what you call poverty. People, you think you're not wealthy. And that's the problem. We created an illusion of that was going to serve our reality if you've made it or not. You but here you the man that makes the cocoa. I mean, you buy the cocoa beans and you create a product and you make everybody think that this is the best chocolate in the world, and they spend a lot of money to acquire it. It's considered a luxury item. Look at the people who make wine. Those people who pick the grapes, they're not wealthy people, but it's passed on the illusion. Each of it is a different state of illusion. The first person of the illusion is limited because they say, "Oh, the only thing I know how to do is pick grapes, or the only thing I know how to do is pick cocoa beans and then sell it." And then the next person gets the product. "Oh, the only thing I know how to do is um, I'm at the chocolate factory and I'm melting the chocolate into the molds to shape the chocolates." And then the other person, "Oh, well, I just," well, somebody along the way is making all the money off it. You're doing all the work. You are doing all the work, but you don't get any of the glory. And you don't have the privilege of, even though you help create the product, you don't have the money, and money is an illusion. You don't have the money to even live in places that sell these luxury items. So how could this person not be wealthy? What happened, people? What happened? We are being hoodwinked and we're struggling in life, wondering, "Oh, I'm not successful. Oh, my parents had a high expectation of me to graduate." Yeah, how about this? How about, let's say, an Ivy League school? Um, I lived in an era where everybody wanted, or anyone who wanted to be anybody, wanted to go into Ivy League schools like Harvard and Yale. Those are the two top schools. At least they used to be the top schools in America. They're one of the oldest schools. They got the first charter. Harvard is the first got the first charter to open up as a school. And this one chick had said, if I don't get in, sorry, if I don't get into Harvard, I'm going to commit suicide, because of her family and her status of successful meant that she supposed to graduate from Harvard School. And she was interviewed. It was a white chick, white American girl, and for her illusion of what was considered successful, for her to, for her reality theme was required that she graduate from Harvard School. So what if you don't get into that school? What are you going to do? Well, you have some people who are willing to kill themselves because the shame of not getting the status of success, which was was a reality they created or their families created for them. So okay, let's say you get into an Ivy League school. What are you going to do after you graduate? I had an opportunity. No, I am no Harvard. I don't have that type of of abilities for type of school. But when I was a young girl, I wanted to go away to school. I mean, back in those days, in 1980, I wanted to have the fan, because there were these movies that was designed for young people. And you go away to school, you live on a fancy campus and all that. And I thought being successful, to be somebody, I thought, oh, you go away for school, for college. And some of my friends were going away for college, and they were from poorer families than my family. If they can go, it was an expensive school. Some of them, uh, they were going to, and I wanted to go to this school. It was in a really, uh, I like art and everything. It was a very artistic. It was pretty too. It was a pretty campus with trees, new buildings. They had working equipment too. I liked science back then, and I mean, it was fantastic, I thought. But I was a minor at the time. I was 17 still, and my father said, "You can't go." He was just being a a hard nose. He was a controller, and so I didn't go. But 2 years later, I wind up going. I told her, I said, "I'm going away for school." I had built up enough courage to say no, and I already had 2 years under my belt with college here in New York City, and I had a little job for 2 years, so I felt a little bit more. I didn't feel as dependent on him, and he never said anything. And I went away for school. Well, I learned, people, not everything that you think you want. See, there's something attached to it. Yes, I had gotten my dream of living on campus in a dormitory. It was a woman's dorm. Um, I paid for everything. My folks never paid for my car. I paid out of pocket. And that was another thing. I paid out of pocket. Even when I first entered college for the first 2 years, I paid for my own college. I had to take out a student loan. I had gotten someone helped me get a job, but I was paying it. So um, it would have been interesting. What if I insisted and say I'm leaving anyhow? I mean, I back then I never went anywhere. I mean, I was go to neighbor's house or something, but I didn't know what the world was really like out there. And so I went away to my dream school at that time, and be careful what you wish for, people. Be careful what you wish for. Now, I thought I was living the dream of the illusion of living on campus. I had, things, sometimes things could be booby trapped too. What do you mean by that, booby trapped? Um, okay, you might, let's say, I had a teacher, and I was the only person of color in that class, as far as I can see. They didn't even have Asian people back then. Um, and the teacher, the professor, said something pejorative about, I thought it was pejorative in nature about uh, Black people. And I did complain about I complained about the teacher. I had my tape recorder going on, and I shared the tape with the EEOC person in the school. It was a Black lady that was not, well, I'm sorry, it was some, your rights in school or something. Or I forget who the person was, but that you go to that person, you feel that some type of injustice happened to you, and it just so happened to be a Black lady. So I had to prove what was said, and I felt uncomfortable. And other illusions, that, let's say you want to go dating and things like that. Um, did you know, people? Life happened when I went away for college. Life happened, and just because something looks beautiful, that it was a top notch higher education, uh, things are attached to it. People are attached to it, and they may not be people who are there for your best interests. You have to deal with jealousy. Let's say women could, people could be jealous, and let's say you meet somebody, but someone else wants the same person. Hello, hello, people. That could happen. Let's say you never had a challenge like that before, but you're in a new environment and people see you, and people are going to react. People are you are always being tested on your journey to build a reality, whether it's real or not. And I was trying to build a reality, a foundation of that consisted of playing the role of a student living on campus. Oh, but it didn't work out. I said, "Is this what it's all about?" I was better off staying where I was. People, I hope you're listening very carefully what I'm saying. Sometimes you are better off where I was. I was better off in the school that I was going to for the first 2 years of college. It was a nice college, but it wasn't fancy. It was dirty. It was considered one of the top schools. The schools in New York City are very old, dirty. They have the equipment is always broken. But for you to get that on your resume that you graduated from certain schools here in New York City, it wasn't an Ivy League school, but it was considered one of the better schools in New York City. And people were friendlier back then too. Yeah, it was a friendly school. But I thought my reality was to be success, that success, part of that success that I was trying to build up for myself required that I had to go away for school. But it didn't work for me. And it was costly too, because you're living on campus. Uh, you have to pay for room and board and books and all that. And I wasn't having a good time there. I wasn't. I learned about people's nature that I didn't know, that existed like that. I didn't have that type of challenge, at least in school. Um, but I had some challenges at my job because I worked and went to school. Each place that you go to in life, yeah, I work with people. Yeah, part of the illusion back with my first job, I worked for the city of New York. I worked with people who did drugs. I was 17 years old when I started working there. They did cocaine. They tried to expose me to cocaine. I never partook. Yeah, it was a nasty lady. I should have said. I mean, I'm being real. See, I believe talk. Because someone young might be listening to this, or you may have children, and you can learn from me, from my experiences about are you a successful person? Your journey into reality and the illusions of those realities, what you thought was reality, but it's not. And it can save you a lot of money and time, my sharing my experiences and uh, awakenings. Awakening is in steps also. And when I woke up this morning and I had the video playing in the background about what is your purpose in life, and are you depressed and lonely, you know, these things could happen. And so here I was being challenged, and I learned that I was better off if I stayed in the college that I started from. They were friendly back then. The people back in the 1980s in college, in that building, that school, they were very friendly. They were local people, people that lived in the other boroughs, mostly Americans. But like, okay, that was the early 80s. Well, fast forward just a little bit, by the time the 1990s came, I thought, oh, let me go back to where I started from, let me go back to that old school and complete my college degree. Well, things changed. Things changed for me when I entered back at that school in 19. What happened in the 1990s? I tell you what happened in the 1990s. Do you remember the fall of the Soviet Union? Remember that? I think it ended in 1990 or 1989. The Soviet Union fell. Well, what happened when their regime fell? Well, you had a lot of refugees. Hello, people. You had tons of refugees, and they went to that school. And they were really, in my opinion, were not nice people. These were cutthroat people, in my opinion. They knew about competition. When someone is hungry, and when they come to America and they have the opportunity to get out of, okay, the illusion of poverty, they'll do anything to get it and to keep it. But a lot of these American people here, we had things cozy. Uh, Things were less expensive back then. Yeah. At one point, there was no college tuition. You just had to pay for books. I think when I started college, I just had to pay. It was a little bit of money. It was. I mean, I remember that each semester was. Get this, people. You're gonna laugh. Tuition back then, I think in 1980, was $400. $400. That was it. 400. That's nothing. Nothing. And but now in the 1990s, things were it doubled. It was much more. Oh yeah, it was in the thousands now. And it's by credit. Like they have the maximum amount that you pay regardless how many credits you take. Like you take 12 or more, it's the same rate. It's the same fee. You don't pay anything more. You pay the maximum amount for full-time status. But now in the night, everything changed. So now, you're with the different demographics. You're with people who came from some of the poorest areas in the world, who had to flee communist Europe, and they were in America, and they have running water, electricity. Yeah, just because it's Europe doesn't mean they got money. You got some poor ass Europeans. They don't have a pot to piss in. I'm not trying to be pejorative. I'm just being real. If you can't be honest or real, you shouldn't be on YouTube, in my opinion. Okay, so I had to go to this school, and now I had to deal with people who are highly, highly competitive. Yeah, they were highly competitive, and you have to qualify for a lot of these programs. Back in the day, the competition wasn't there. It wasn't the same thing, and I felt like I was being pushed out. Um, so here, these people, some of these people were willing to fight to get into these medical pre-med programs and all this and that. And you had less and less black people too. When I went in 1980, you had a handful of black people, but you still had a nice blend. You had New Yorkers, you had native New Yorkers, the foreigners that were there. It seemed like I would always bump into French people from France. It was just like one or two. It's always like some French girl always sitting next to me, or on the job. You know, People kept a low profile back then. You didn't need at one point a pass. What do you call it? A social security card. Yeah, you could go in any company back then and say, "Oh yeah, I'm American." Well, and you fill out the forms, whatever, and they never check. And then things started changing in the employment world, and now you needed proof of your you had to submit a social security card, proof that you are lawfully here. You didn't have to you didn't have to present it. I never had to present it until later on. I said, "Wow," um, I realized, wow, things are harder now to get a job, and so things didn't wind up how it used to be. I mean, things were getting harder to have, and my status of what's successful was becoming harder and harder. If I would have stayed and just focused on my work for 4 years, whatever, um, and study, do my work, I I could have graduated on time. But I was flying, things were. I was just very distracted, and I was always looking outside of myself for what's considered successful. I feel that materialism, like the school that I went to, the college that I initially went to, was in the middle of a ultra luxury neighborhood in New York City. It's in the million. This was on Park Avenue. Park Avenue is a luxury street back in the day. And I'm surrounded by ultra high end luxury living. And I said to myself, well, how I one day I saw a little girl. She was on the ground floor of a luxury building on Park Avenue, right across the street from the school. The school was between Lexington and Park Avenue. And I used to walk around everywhere because I wanted to know what life and reality was all about. And when you're a young teenager, you lived in a closed area, uh, in the boroughs, you need to formulate your reality, what's real, and how do you acquire it. So I was gathering information, gathering what my environment was telling me. And so one day I was walking on this fancy area on uh, the east side, on Park Avenue, uh, in the 60s and 70s. Um, and I saw a little girl sitting by in her room. The window was wide open, and I see a little girl. She looked about maybe 8 years old, and she looked upset. So I said to myself, I used to walk in this neighborhood, all these different hours of the day. Uh, and I said, oh, if I could only live in these buildings, I'd be successful. I'd be normal. I'd be like everybody else. I'd be set in life, blah, 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 blah. This was my illusion of what reality was, that you needed to live in a luxury building on Park Avenue to be considered established. But I'm looking at this young white girl, and she looked upset. So I said to myself, well, what's wrong with her? Why isn't she happy? I thought happiness was, you have to be happy if you live in this luxury, high end, millions of dollars, these apartments, these units on Park Avenue in the 60s, 70s, 80s, not in part of the 90s. These are the luxury neighborhoods in New York City. Park Avenue was the address to have, of considered making it, being everything. And I also used to look at the stores that they would have too. They have stores for these people who have luxury. It'd be these cute little baby stores, blankets, these fancy, the same thing. The people who make these items are not wealthy, right? The people who make the cute little shoes, baby shoes, uh, fur coats, and this and that, they don't make money. The people who own the establishment can have, the money, but even still, are they wealthy? Do they have the type of money that these people who are able to buy these items have? Back in the day, I didn't know about Bill Gates yet. Bill Gates got more popular, I mean, I wasn't into computer. I mean, I worked behind a computer desk, but but I wasn't a programmer or anything like that. But you had people who were slowly making money off of people who wanted to be in technology and wanted to be something, right? And it slowly built up the career, the job market for computers. Yeah, it got established in the 80s, a little later, in the 1980s. Slowly it became, computers got started to get more and more a part of the workforce. But when I initially worked, they were I mean, there were databases. Like you had a machine that you can retrieve data from. Yeah, so technically, yes, it's a computer, but it wasn't a personal computer. The personal computers in the business world in New York City seemed to really start to take off in 1990. 1990. I mean, you had American Online. You had people um, getting uh, on the internet. I knew a girl from high school in 1990. She had American Online. She was went go on the internet. I didn't understand what the internet was, but it's starting to grow. And you have what you call a chat room, I think it was called, and people would interact with people who they never seen before. Um, I just got a slither of it, but it was not part of my reality. By the 1990s, 19 oh it was almost 2000, 1999. I worked at a job and it had the internet, and that's it wasn't the first time ever on the internet, but it was the first time, like, really having access to what we call the internet today, the World Wide Web. And it was a big environment. It was like the wild wild west. It was a frontier that was really really new. And you start to learn new concept of what's reality and what's considered successful. And part of it was, you want to be, what do you call it, it's called a master, what do you call that term, a webmaster. Everybody want to be a call themselves master, right? Oh, I'm a webmaster. People were doing anything to learn what this thing called computer and internet. And the job that I had at that time, the person left the job and the position became available. I had enough skill on a computer, or I should say a keyboard, and I knew word processing. So I just, I was just shifted right in there, and um, did my job. But again, what was considered successful, and success also was in stages. First, my life, going away for college, and then learning about computers, getting, could call yourself a webmaster. No, I've never been a webmaster, but people wanted to, because now this was the new frontier, and you were only somebody, considered somebody, if you now were a part of the member of the computer, the internet world. Oh, to be a computer programmer. Yeah, this was it. People were racing to be this. But guess what? In this reality, or are you considered successful people? Well, I had, moved back to the U.S. mainland, back to New York City, and the 9/11 thing happened, and I couldn't get my old job back. Yeah, I worked at building number 7, and that's the building that that kind of vaporized. It fell down by itself, even though no bomb hit it, but yet it caught on fire and it just crumbled. Well, I lost the opportunity to get my job there, because it all got the whole World Trade Center complex got destroyed in 1 hour time, and 1 hour and it was in 1 hour and a half from start to finish because the first plane hit at, I think, a quarter to nine, and then the last building, of the twin towers fell at 10:30 a.m. You count the number of minutes. It's like an hour and a half from start to end. Um, what was the point now with that? So people were, here I came back to New York to get reestablished because I again believed the illusion that I needed to go away. Oh yeah, had gotten blacklisted in New York City, and I was forced out. But I came back after almost 3 years, and I thought, get back on the line and follow the program, and I had to start from scratch to be somebody to could be considered successful. But the 9/11, I was not able to get my old job back. The whole World Trade Center got destroyed overnight, um, and I had a hustle for a job, and I had to start from scratch again. I became homeless, uh, and the lady at the homeless shelter said, "If you don't get it, now hear this. I mean, the 9/11, that thing got totally destroyed. The infrastructure for the cell phones they had at that time was all located on the twin towers. And this chick at the homeless shelter said, if you don't get a job, and by the end of this month, I'm going to throw you out. I kid you not, people. This lady was from Cuba, a light skinned lady from Cuba who's trying to pass as a white person. I speak the truth, people. I speak the truth. I'm not here to offend anybody, but I speak the truth as I know it, and I don't uh, cut. I don't cut the words. I say it. I give you the full concentration. You know, but so I was forced to get a job real quick because I didn't want to be thrown out. Here, I was a veteran of the United States military, and this chick from Cuba, a wannabe white person, she could pass as a Caucasian a little bit. But she had that mixed race kind of look about her, and she had no compassion over me and why I became homeless. Um, but this was right after 9/11. People were hustling for a job. You didn't have communications because the communication things were all located. Many of it was located on the twin towers, so we had to start from scratch. I had to start from scratch, New York City. But this was a test, people. This was a test. Everything, life is a test. And this um I had to find a job and my own home eventually. So I was I was talking to someone at the shelter. It was a specialized one. It was um, a long-term shelter, which was nice. Actually, it was a nice one. I felt relatively comfortable there. I was safe there. Um, and the girl said, "Hey, you can get a job at the being a security guard. They have a school around the corner, and you can get your certificate, your licensing to become a security guard because they need it now because of the TERRORIST. Okay, because of that event that happened. So I got it within a month. I think it was 1 month or something like that. I got my license to do that. Oh, so what was the point now when I got that? Oh yeah, I remember. So I landed a job at I'm not going to give the name of the client, but it was a big client that had their business at the World Trade Center that got destroyed, and another major uh, bank or institution rented, gave them space so that they could continue their do their job, which was really nice. I think that's what happened to them. Yeah, it was a couple of hundred people, I think, um, that survived. The people who didn't die in that, they were able to work at this other location. And so I saw everybody, because the nature of my job then, I had to walk around the floor. It was graveyard shift from like midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. And so I saw all the offices. I had access to all the offices in the building. And I also had to work at the front desk, the lobby. So I saw all who worked for the company. And I had an opportunity to meet this man that worked there. He was a young white dude. Yeah, he was younger than me, and he was a computer person. People, this is in 2004, so it's a little, a couple of years since the 9/11. Yeah, this is no 2003. My mistake. This was, yeah, 2003, and he shared this information. Yeah, people would share me information too. I was easygoing, and he shared with me. He said, uh, he was a computer person, and he realized that he made a mistake. This is what a white dude in the computer field is telling me. And back in those days, this is 19, 20 years ago, and he's telling me that he made a mistake, that if he could do it over again, he would not be in the uh, computer business, and that I think what happened to him. See, the market in computers was being flooded by international by people from other countries. They were getting cheap labor. See, people. Yeah, he entered. The white dude entered it. He probably, let's see. He probably, and okay, this is the early 2000s. So he probably in the 90s, 1990s, when the computer thing was real hot. If you knew how to do computer programming, oh, you got a job, you know. And so here he's in New York City, a white man. I think he's a white Christian guy, uh, um, and he the market wasn't there anymore. I mean, there was a market, but now it's flooded, and they're getting cheap labor from other parts of the world, primarily from Asia. They get them real dead cheap, and you could just hire them. You don't need to hire any white American man who requires a lot of money to be happy. You hire these people from other countries. You give them pennies, and they get the job done. And he said he felt like he's trapped. He made a mistake. He shouldn't have gotten there. He's no longer successful because now he's considered a dime a dozen. So what happened, people? Uh, he started out pretty much, but it phased out, and the glamour of the field ended for him. He was a common person. He didn't feel fulfilled. He was, in his own eyes, his reality taught him that now he was considered unsuccessful and a failure. So, what is successful, people? What is successful? What should he have done? Now look at me. I thought I'd be considered successful if I went away to a fancy college, or let's say, I also worked in banking. I also worked in behind the scene in television. I worked in all over. I had access uh, to work in places that um, I had access to because of the nature of the job I was in. Or I had the opportunity to be in the military. I mean, I was just an enlistee. I was not anything high up. I was an E3. That was my level. I came in as an E3. But yes, with rank comes privileges. Oh yeah, you go in the military, go in with a rank. You know, if you go in as an officer, but even that is an illusion. Being an officer, you know, remember that movie, An Officer and a Gentleman? You had all these movies. Remember back in the day, they had all these movies about being in the military, being an officer, and having access. You know, yes, with rank comes privileges. You get better food too when you're an officer. Um, you wear a uniform, and people have to salute you. But that is an illusion of success. Because even within being an officer in the military, or let's say you're a chief in this, you're an enlisted, but you're a chief, uh, a master chief, you always have someone above you. There is always someone that's going to be senior to you, telling you what to do, and you have to, you know, hopefully you get along with that person. And money, you know, if you only had more money. Well, you have people who have money and things, and they're not fulfilled, and they think by getting more and more stuff makes them feel successful. Now, even with me living here, I had everything I needed on paper. I mean, I had food, I had shelter. I live in a luxury building. I have access to everything, people. I have access to go. I can walk maybe 1 hour's walk, and I get to a beautiful forest. I walk maybe a half an hour. I can get to see a beautiful river. I have another access. I can go to uh, one of the wealthiest part of the nation. You know, high luxury shopping, buying. I have access to everything, but how come I don't feel like I'm a successful person? I had access to a lot of things. So what is it? So when I got up this morning, I had the my video playing. I fell asleep with the video on, and I woke up to the video of that's entitled "Find Your Purpose" when you feel depressed and lonely. Well, when you feel like you're not successful, you can feel lonely, right? Because you say, "Oh, I'm not successful." You know, there are people who are around. They have access to so-called friends, but they're lonely because they're living part in the false reality about success and fulfillment. Part of success is about feeling fulfilled. There are a lot of people that have money, but they're not fulfilled. And they might as well be on welfare because they're miserable, miserable. Do you know what people? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do any of you know what I am talking about? There are people who have access to a lot of money and they're miserable, or they have access to people, so called friends, and the friends might be jealous of them. They can have leeches. You have people who are leeches out there, and they suck the person's resources and they use it and they get all fed up, right? So, what is success? Are these successful people? Well, you interview some of these people, they don't feel successful and they're miserable, and then they fall into alcoholism. Some of them fall into illicit drugs, right? When I was in a shelter, there was a one of them. I was in the shelter twice, one in Hawaii and one in New York. And I had, I mean, here I was living in paradise, and I had opportunity to stay at this shelter. It was a very creative shelter. It was you could it was a program that to help you get on your feet. For some people, they can teach you how to read and write. They had a drug program in this facility for those people who are homeless because they're drug addicts and they can't keep a job and things like that. And I was nothing like that. I never did drugs. I wasn't into drinking, smoking, and all the loose living. I was a highly conservative person, very conservative, but I couldn't catch up on my bills. And my Hawaiian veterans representative said, "Hey, if you ever need, a place to stay, this is where the shelter is, and it's a really nice program." So he was just letting me know, FYI, hey, if you need it, use it. And I had an opportunity to go there. It's a 2-year program. I lasted there 11 months. Here, 11 is a master number, people. 11 is a master number. Those of you who are into numerology, I was there for 11 months, and I didn't want to stay. Um, see, uh, I I wanted more freedom. Everything is a price to pay. Yeah, it was an excellent program uh, for those people who need it. It gave you a cushion, a time to save money. Yeah, you can have a job and live here. It's a 2-year program. You could get a job and save up your money, right? You need to save up your money. Um, and then when you're ready to move after 2 years, you can move. But also, you were required to do uh, cleaning of the facility. And some of the people act like jerks that were, who are superior to you. The people over. Yeah, a lot of the people that work there, they were former homeless people there. And you want to see a jerk, get someone who was homeless, who uh thinks they're in a position of power over other people. They are horrible. They're horrible, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the experience. I wanted freedom. Well, people, freedom course for you. uh Even living in paradise like Hawaii, where I lived on this shelter. Yeah, you had your own, like you shared a room with one. It was like a studio. It had a complete a tub, sink. They had bed for us, a dresser. It was just a bit, and it was a little kitchenette and a little, a refrigerator. It was really a nice setup, and you could go out. You come back before the gates close. Man, it was really a good deal that I had. You get to save up your money, and then you move on. And then they had inexpensive housing next door. I wanted my own place. I lasted there 11 months. I said, I really want my own space. It was the wrong choice. And everything costs in life. And sometimes the cost is biting your lip. Biting your lip. Yeah, you're going to live with some jerks, and some of the people would lie on you. You see a lot of corruption. The other thing I meaning about this establishment that I was at. Okay, it was a special program for those people who are down in their luck. Some of the people needed to overcome substance abuse. Well, anyway, I met a young man. He was like maybe in his 20s, early 20s. I'm not going to give I don't even remember his name, but I would not give the name of the company his father was. His father was the CEO of one of the major, an American Airlines company, um, one of the top. And what happened, um, he had he fell in the son of this wealthy man the CEO of a company, an airlines company. He fell into drug use. He was a chubby white fellow, and he was very mean spirited. His sister worked for the airlines, and his sister died in a plane crash. And he had a nasty words about his dead sister that just happened. I said this was a wake up call. I said, wait a minute, this is a white guy. And again, my paradigm back then, 20 something years ago, that, you have it easy if you're a so called white person in America. You had access to jobs and connections and all this and that. And then you had to be happy. Well, that was a lie. That was part of the view of the illusion, and the illusion of what is considered to be successful. This guy was a son of a wealthy man. Sorry, he was a son of a wealthy man, and he was in a homeless shelter in Hawaii. He was in the drug program. I was just in a in the homeless. I just lived there, and but I wasn't in any drug rehab, but I never had that problem. I just didn't have money. That was my problem. And I had lost my job. And I thought, hey, living here, I could help save up money and then get, start anew. So I had the opportunity to meet this person. I mean, I never talked to him, but he was there. He was talking in front of everybody. And he had horrible things. He had a I thought I was negative. This person was 10 times worse than I was. He was extremely bitter, angry. He was angry against his sister that died in a horrible plane crash. Um, he had nothing good to say about anybody. He was way overweight. He didn't care about himself. And here he was, a white man, young white man, in a drug rehab situation. And I said, wow, how could this happen to a white guy? Well, it happened to him. And was this guy successful? Well, he had access to probably the top schools in the country. Money was not an issue. If you're a CEO for a you know how much money these guys, and when they get the bonuses that they get every year, it's in the millions, people. Connections to have to have access to go to different countries around you can make connections, people. Connections. And this guy is suffering. He was bitter, um, but it was a wake up call. It was part of my wake up call about what is successful. Was this a successful guy in the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii? And I was experiencing different things. Yeah, the life, yeah, life is different on an island. And they were more friendlier to the homeless there in Hawaii. You could be in a shelter, but you don't have the stigma. Yeah, you could have buddies. Live in the shelter here or there. You can have friends outside, and no one judges you. But here in New York, place like New York, oh, you're judged. But there are a lot of people who are in homeless shelters, and especially during the time of 9/11 with the World Trade Center. Yeah, I knew of people who they got a job uh, at the area of where the World Trade Center was, and they lost their job. They had just started it, and the whole complex got destroyed overnight, and they lost a job, and they became homeless. You had another lady that had a apartment there. She was a little bit more savvy, a white lady, and she had a credit card. She became instantly homeless, but she had a credit card, and she stayed in a hotel somewhere in the city. And back in those days, the government was reimbursing people who were forced into homelessness and had to use their credit card for shelter. And she was reimbursed. She told me, that's what she told me. This was a couple of months after 9/11. This was in 2002, maybe April of 2002. So it was still early in the game. And, and I worked right across the street. People get this. So here the whole thing got destroyed, but I was doing retail across the street from the World Trade Center, and I got sick. I woke up one day with a lump in my throat, and flu-like symptoms. And this happened twice. I was only at that company for a short time, but I think the universe, I may not have liked it. Yeah, I had gotten challenged, health wise, and I got laid off, or well, fired because I was out sick. But I got sick because the toxins from the 9/11 thing, yeah, it was still a mountain. Remember those pictures that you saw of the big lump, that big, blob of whatever? Well, that existed. That was there for a couple of years. All this toxic stuff, and I got sick. But I didn't realize that's why I got sick. But now in hindsight, because we weren't told that it was toxic to work down there. I was for, yeah. Oh, okay. I almost forgot. See, I got so busy in my conversation here. Yeah, I was for the Cuban American lady said if I don't get a job, even though the night that the thing just got blown up, um, I was supposed to say that word, but either way, you don't get a job the end of the month, I'm going to throw you out of this shelter thing. But yet they had two illegals from China living down there, living, they didn't have to uh, follow any of the rules. They didn't have to get a job, nothing. And they were allowed pretty much caught, but they were nice people. They were nice. I liked them. They were quiet, but they were allowed there. They didn't have a see. I believe that they were illegal. They did see if they were what you call what's the word, a refugee. You would be if you're a refugee, you would be issued a social security number. They didn't have a social security card. They had nothing. They had nothing, and they couldn't get certain things. Yeah, they were sharing with me some of the things they were going through. But they were savvy, and they made these little things out of um, Coca-Cola. Those Coca-Cola bottles. The big gulp thing. They were able to make little lanterns out of them. They were very creative, and they sold them on in Chinatown. And they didn't require a bank account. We were all required to get a bank account and prove how much money we are saving to stay in the program there. They didn't have to have that, and someone saw them stuffing their body, underneath their clothes with money, and then an incident happened, and they said it was the last straw, and they left. But either way, what was the point of mentioning there? People, let me get some water. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Well, people, yeah. So the illusion. I was meeting people that became instantly homeless overnight because they lost their home because they had luxury buildings around the Twin Towers, and they became homeless. It was too toxic to live there because it was, remember, all that white smoke. All that is carcinogens. Yeah, and so I was forced to get a job, and the lady, that one of the people that I live with said, "Hey, you can get a job real quick as a security guard and blah blah blah." No, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Mom is okay. They did say that, but that's right. I had gotten the job. Oh yeah, I remember what happened. I mean, that was true too if you don't get a job by the end of the month. But that's right. I had gotten the job in the retail across the street. Of course, you can get a job there. No one wants to work down there with those buildings. It was still smoke. It was still smoking down there. And that, oh, remember, just look at videos, what it looked like. And that's what it really looked like. And I was across the street from this big mess, and I was desperate, and I knew I could get a job in around the World Trade Center because who wants to work there? So I got a job in retail, and then some incidences happened to me there, and then I had gotten sick. I woke up with a big lump in my throat, my glands, and they eventually, the excuse was, "Oh, you were out a month ago." I said, "Well, a month. This is a month later. I'm here. What? Why?" It was just an excuse. I can't really get into what happened, but these are all learning experiences, and you are being tested. I was being tested, and life was showing me different people from different walks of life. Some of them were typical, what you call urban people, urban black people who lost a job because they had a little job in a retail store, and that fell through. And then you had a upper middle class white lady who became instantly homeless and used her credit cards to stay in a hotel, and the government reimbursed her. But either way, you're all in the same boat, so to speak. But the illusion is still there for both of us, whether you're a poor urban black person doing security guard work, or whether you're a so-called higher end Caucasian who become homeless. You're both in the same state. You both are homeless, and you both are perceived, I mean, you're perceived differently because of your social economic, but are you successful? Are you successful? In Hawaii, it's no big deal because everybody there is, I mean, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people don't are living, they're just kind of winging it. They might be what you call beach bums from California, but they live in Hawaii now. Um, you have people who come from families that are CEOs of major corporations in the US mainland. And you have people like myself who are just trying to keep a job, and then the illusions of, you get depressed, right? I was depressed uh, because I didn't feel I was being treated well at times, because I was considered a threat to some of the other people that worked in some of the companies I worked at, and they wanted my job, and and so this is a game that we all have to play, and you can't avoid the game. And different games have different rules. Yeah. Different games have different rules. And I'm not trying to, I don't, oh, that's my dog is sneezing. You hear that? That's him sneezing. Oh, poor baby. Poor baby, you sneezing? Okay. That was my little boy. He had a sneeze. I'm sorry, baby. Yeah, so what's going on, people? That life, every stage in life, you are given different tests. I realize there are a lot of people that wish they had what I had. I live in a nice building. I have cute little dogs. And some people may say, oh, and I'm considered slim, right? But well, how come I'm feeling miserable? I feel like, boy, and I'm not successful because I don't own a house. Well, I know a lady that bought a house in the Poconos, and um, they got overstretched. They They didn't know about the taxes. Yeah, they lived on a really nice, this lady I know has excellent taste, and it was built by scratch. Um, they couldn't afford to keep it. They didn't do their research enough. See that, people? We Part of success, you have to do your homework. I hope you're hearing this. Part of success in the game, you have to do enough research and ask yourself, are you willing to pay the cost? Could you afford the cost to live there or to have it there? And about the taxes. To live in certain communities, you have to pay, let's say, school tax. She knew about the, what do you call it, the land tax, but she didn't tabulate the school tax. You have new communities that are being built, and there's a school tax, and you pay an exorbitant amount of money in some areas because there's no people that live there. So how are you going to support a school system where you tax the people and you don't even have to have kids? You may not have any kids, but you have to pay school tax. And they couldn't leave because no one else could afford it to purchase the home. And this was a luxury home. And the person felt like a failure. Yeah, they were in a nice little cozy little community, gated community. They didn't know about the school tax and they could not afford. So it was a headache. They purchased a headache, and they thought to get a luxury place because they feel like they're successful because they got a second home or a third home. Yeah, there are people that got second, third, and fourth homes, but they have the money to afford it. They may be a CEO of a major corporation, and they get all those bonuses at the end of the year, so they can afford a luxury lifestyle. This person wanted the illusion and to create a reality of what was considered successful for them. Well, they didn't have it, and they were suffering because they couldn't afford the lifestyle. How about those people? Um, they might get clothing, and they put all the clo- they buy all their clothes with a credit card, and they may buy from trendy places, or let's say they purchase those what do you call it, those little luxury items like handbags or shoes, like with ladies in particular. They buy handbags and certain shoes, what do you call it, accessories, because they want to live the illusion, make people think that they were successful, and they wanted to create a false reality that they had money, and they didn't have money. And you have and they become in debt, and then they use one credit card to pay off another credit card. I did anybody ever fall for that? That happened to me too. When I was in Hawaii, I had to, because I was in such debt. I mean, I would pay off what the minimum required to pay off, every month. And I, the more I did, the more debt I became. And I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown. I was losing weight. I was depressed, and I was not happy in paradise. I was told growing up that paradise was you had to live on an island somewhere. Um, I mean, I had access to some really spectacular places, but I was miserable. I was underweight. Yeah, I have a picture of myself. Maybe one day I might share it. I have a picture of myself by the banyan tree in Maui, and boy, I was skinny. I was skinny as a rail. Yeah, I lost a lot of weight. Yeah, worrying can make you lose weight, and you don't have enough money for food. Yeah, I was miserable, and I think in hindsight, life was really trying to teach me, uh, and maybe all of us are design their own life. Um, I'm learning a different paradigm system about what is reality. That some people say we're part of a holographic system, a computer system, and we come into this 3D world with a plan. And maybe the person is right. Maybe I created. I purposely said I want to have a life and have access to um, fancy jobs or fancy to live in fancy location, and to see what reality is. What it'd be like to have these things, and it was an eye opener. Or how about having a certain type of boyfriend, right? You have some people that the guy has to look a certain way, right? I had access to this person that I went out with very briefly in Hawaii. Boy, that was another headache. Yeah, the illusion of certain types of boyfriends, and it's some people, there are women. I had access, uh, privy to information, an acquaintance. This person was shared with me her story about the illusion and what was considered successful or plush or prestige. She got engaged, and she was to get married in the West Indies, the U.S. Virgin Islands. That's where I met her. I had opportunity to live there. She was a chubby white lady. I think she was in her 30s or 40s. And she was living on the island for a number of years. And she told me that she was to get married on that island. Well, guess what happened, people? I hope you guys are listening very well. Someone needs to hear this. Well, this lady told me that the guy never showed up. It was a no call, no show. She had made the arrangements, and everything was done. He never came. And she was too embarrassed to go back home to the mainland, to the US mainland. And she stayed there for all these years in the West Indies because she was too ashamed to let people know that the man stood her up at the altar. And she's depressed, and she's chubby now, and feeling bad about herself. You think she feels successful, people? She thought the illusion of, so she could tell her friend she got married in the West Indies, whatever, and the guy stood her up. These things happen to all types of people, all different races, all different gender. Life happens to all of us. So here now, um, I wake up in the morning. I have a spectacular view. Um, a couple of months, about 9 months ago, I was to leave to live overseas. I thought I was going to escape the United States, escape racism, escape depression, feeling down. I wanted a brand new life, and life happened to me. Yeah, so a lot of the stuff I gave away. Um, but why I share this is that, you can't run away from yourself. You cannot run away from yourself. You can't, life happens in all stages, whether you're middle age, whether you're a young person just starting out in college, um, whether you're a young person want to get married to that special person, and you can get jilted at the altar. A lot of things happen. Um, And so I wake up this morning and I ask myself, am I successful? Am I? What is successful? And only you can really answer that question. But each thing in life, I mean, I have a really good situation. I have food in the refrigerator. I have access if I wanted to organic food if I really wanted organic. I have my dog. I have three beautiful little doggies. And you know, to keep a beautiful dog, you have to groom it yourself or pay someone to do it. Um, I have access to a beautiful park. I didn't realize I really people I really have it made, but I have to create a reality for me that I could swallow. I have to say, you know, I'm successful even if I'm naked. I'm successful even if I have a small YouTube channel that no one watches. Why can't we just live one day at a time? The test never changed people. It never changes. The people who are fighting, you know, you can be a sibling and you're fighting over the estate because you might have the illusion you want to take all the wealth. And so you can show off to people, "Oh, I got this estate or whatever. And you may never live long enough to enjoy it. I was telling a person recently, hey, like, because something almost happened to me health wise a week and a half ago. I had to go to the emergency room a week and a half ago for ketosis. I accidentally got into ketosis. It could have killed me. And other people who I know, their health is getting compromised for whatever reason. And I shared this with this person. I said, hey, I said, there's no guarantee in life, but here you're working all these hours, but your health is bad. And you've been to these countries before. Every year you go to the same places, basically. I said, why don't you go to at least a resort, a health resort, to get your health back in order and to maybe reverse certain health conditions you have so that, you know, when you do retire, at least you be healthy and live long enough to enjoy it. And I warned them. I said, I think you better be careful. And this was before I found out I had the ketosis, which just was a couple of days after. I kid you not. And I told them, I said, you got to be careful because you had to go to the hospital early in the month because your blood pressure went out of the roof for no reason. You got to do something about it. You may be forced to retire early, and you have to ask yourself, do you want to spend 1 to 2 years, 3 years longer on the job that might kill you, or just leave a little early, take care of your health these next 2 or 3 years, reverse your health condition, and so that when the time that you really wanted to take your retirement, you'll be healthy enough to enjoy it. I said, you may have to make the decision, and I hope you make a good decision. I told them, don't go on that vacation. Well, they did go, and they did come back okay, but their health, their health. They want the illusion of they're not enjoying. I mean, they have their time off, whatever, but they exist to pay off a mortgage and vacations and all these things that they cannot afford. but they want to live the illusion, people, and create a reality for people to see that they're successful. But are they? Who owns their property is the banks. The bank owns their mortgage, right? You don't pay that mortgage, they can confiscate your house immediately. They some places are really tricky, and they can take your property, even if you miss one payment. Depends on how mean they are. Wow. Wow. So I sit here this morning, I'm looking out my window, and I have access to see a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful environment. The beautiful buildings. I um I was getting stuck in the rut, and I needed to explore. Really explore my environment. Sometimes when you just get in a routine and you get bored and you think that's all it is. And I had an opportunity to talk to someone, and they shared with me, hey, you may need to, hey, open your horizons a little more. You have access to visit different places. You need to get out there. But I was afraid. Yes, yes, there's things that happen. Yes, I got attacked in the middle of the street almost 2 years ago. Yes, that did happen, but it's not still happening. I mean, it was an event that happened. It kind of scared me, and they released the lady to live in my neighborhood. And yes, I was intimidated by that. They weren't arresting her. They said no. So, yes, you have injustices that happen. But let's say this is all a test, people, to see how you will do, to see if you will survive the test, because there's always another test. I saw something the other day. I went out, I got up early, and I mean, but not as early as I used to, but early enough, and I found it was beautiful. The sun was shining. It initially was cloudy, but I thought it was going to still be hot. But yeah, it was cool outside. The weather was beautiful. I bought a linen shirt, like a dress shirt, and I wore shorts underneath. And I was cool. I was going to go back in my apartment to get a jacket because it was kind of cool. But it was nice. My dogs loved it. And this person told me about this. I met this person from Australia, and I was telling her about places she can visit. It was the first time she was in America. She was spending like a month here in America, and then she was going to go to other states in the United States. And then I went to visit this area that someone recently told me about, and my mouth dry. It was beautiful. Oh my God, it was such beauty. This area in New York City. I've never heard of it, never seen it. And this person shared with me, hey, why don't you try this? So I was a little nervous going because, because I had that condition about a week and a half ago. And I wasn't sure whether I was strong enough to go. I mean, I was walking a little bit every day, trying to get my strength up, and I made it. And luckily, it was cool out there. So, the cooler does me a little better, because I did leave early in the morning, and I found something that I said, "Wow!" I said, "This is nice." I have all this beauty that I didn't know about at my fingertips that I didn't know about. And uh, am I successful? I say, you know something? Maybe life is not about are you successful, but are you happy? Are you are you I mean, when I realized that I could have died, that with the ketosis, and I just found out by chance that I checked my ketone levels, and it was out of the roof, and I raced to the hospital to get treated. Um, am I successful? Um, is it important? Maybe life is not about successful, but enjoying the journey. Um, I have beautiful little doggies in my life, and yes, having dogs it is a responsibility. They're not always going to obey you. Sometimes they might get sick or they get injured, um, but it all comes with the territory. Everything comes with a cost to it. You buying a house, well, there's a price to pay. You have a leaky roof, a tree fall on your roof. Um, you get snowed in. You can get a fire. You may have bad neighbors, right? You can have all these things attached to things that might be actually nice. And are you going to pass the test? Did I pass the test of Hawaii? It's interesting I say it like that because, like, as I was doing this live stream today, I, for a moment, I thought about. I said, "Hey, what would it be like to move to Hawaii?" Because because I don't. It was just for a split second. I said, some things I really did like about Hawaii. Uh, what would it be like to live there now? It was just, I don't know why, but it just, as I was talking, I said, maybe I'm ready to enjoy a place like Hawaii, this stage of my life. Um, I'm retired basically. Um, I could have the sunshine, whatever. I could go to um, there was an area in Maui that I loved. Kapalua is the northern part of Maui. I loved it. But again, it is an illusion. It is an illusion. And you might meet people, but even the people that you meet, they too are on their journey. And their journey may require them to experience certain things, certain type of relationships, um, owning certain properties there, but it doesn't guarantee you happiness or success, you know? Um, yeah, I met people that was making money there. I did some real, what do you call, um, retail there in Hawaii, and everything is like commission based. You get a little base salary, but you work for commission. And some people have a mental breakdown. Yeah, you could, it's a burnout. You have people they compromise themselves. They start to become liars to pay, to make a sale. Um, and lady was telling me, hey, the person, one of the people at your job, they're no longer there because they had a mental breakdown because of the stress of making money, 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 money. And there's always more and more and more money that was required. And it consumed them in the land of paradise. What is paradise to you people? Only you can answer that question. What is paradise for you? What is success for you? I already shared in this live stream that some people thought what success was for them to be a computer programmer and make lots of money. Well, I shared with you this person probably got into the computers in the early 90s, and they're not making the money that they thought they would because now they're using the cheap labor from Asia, South Asia, where they get a lot of the computer people, the techies. And so he's no longer the glamour boy in the field of computers, computer programming, or the people who, what do you call it? I forget what you call it. The people who monitor the system, they come a dime a dozen. And they thought, oh, wow. Yeah. And they were, a Caucasian, they were a white male, American male, and they fell for it. They fell for it. Or let's say again about marrying on a nice island, and the guy stood you up and never showed up for the wedding, and you're ashamed to go back home because you told everybody you was getting married, and you're stranded on an island, you know, a white person in the West Indies. You don't fit there really, and you walk around depressed. Well, these things happen, and again about where you live or opportunities. Am I successful? It is what was happening to me. I mean, anything could happen, people. And I mean, I bought everything that I wanted. I had everything that I needed. Uh, but I got caught up with the illusion of success, and it takes energy and time to keep what you have. Let's say you get a fancy house and you have landscaping where you have to have people to maintain it. And it costs money to maintain to the standard and the illusion of what would be considered successful. You also have people who live in, like, they might be new millionaires, let's say. And you have a millionaires club. To be invited, I heard, to some of these parties on those luxury ships, um, it costs money. When you get invited to some of these multi-million dollar yachts, you have to bring a lot of money. Like, even though you're a guest of somebody, you have to tip everybody when you go into that place. Even though you're being served, you have to pay all of those people there. You may not have the money. You couldn't afford to tip everybody there because it's. I mean, I've never been in anything like that. I was just told about it. That some of these things require. Yeah, you have rich people who are not rich enough to even associate with these people who own these luxury yachts. You don't, there's different layers of wealth and leisure. I couldn't probably even afford a glass of water. Yeah. Yeah. And so for them, they'd be considered poor. Low status. It's like being uh the smart one in the stupid person class, or the dumb one in the smart people's class. You take your pick which one you want. You decide which one you want to be, but choose wisely. And it's an eye opener. Um, I live in a beautiful, the person that I talked to shared with me, hey, if you want to see ugliness, you'll see it. You need to change the way you think and start seeing good things in situations, and you're going to attract good things in your life. I think they got a point there. And I have everything at my fingertips. Yes, I have to make right decisions regarding my. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you might make like I didn't know that fasting 3 days was going to put me in ketosis and could have killed me. I didn't know. I fasted before, but this was the first. I mean, I had a device that I got in ketosis, and it was an eye opener. And it was an eye opener. I had I in this new awareness. I mean, this recent medical challenge, incident that happened. It opened up doors for me to rekindle a relationship with someone that I know. I haven't spoken to this person in over 20, I never had a conversation, a real adult conversation with this person. And I used the opportunity to open up doors to, for part of the healing process of things that that I experienced growing up. Um, and it is really amazing, people. Um, we all of us are going to be challenged, and I think maybe it's not about what's successful. I mean, I like my life comfortable. I like beautiful things. Maybe maybe life is really about chilling out, relaxing, enjoying your health. Maybe about learning how to forgive. That's a big one. Learning how to forgive people, forgive others, forgiving yourself. You know, unforgiveness is like poison, people. Unforgiveness is poison. And I like to live in liberty. I want to live with a free spirit. I don't want to live in fear anymore. I was in fear. Um, yeah, I think fear touched a lot of people, especially the past 3 years with the COVID-19, right? It did scare a lot of people. It scared me. Um, but I'm alive. I am alive. And we can, we all make mistakes. And if we have the opportunity to correct it, uh, maybe learn to forgive yourself and to forgive others who may have hurt you. Um, enjoy the flowers. This is all a test. All of us are going to be exposed with tests. Tests about relationships, or boyfriend or girlfriend, or whether you want to have a child or no child. I used to think that be successful, you had to have children. And so when I didn't have children, oh, I'm a failure because I didn't have a baby, and I didn't, it's people. I just, I just got to chill out. Even being a YouTuber, you have people who are whoring themselves, who are saying things just to elicit a response, to get people angry, so to increase viewerships. They too are living the illusion of success, and they compromise themselves to do or say horrible things just to be horrible. You have people who have those food things, like they go eat a what called a mukbang. They go eat like a giant hamburger about the size of a table, a kitchen table or something. I mean, have you seen those videos? And they do it just for the money and the viewership and attention. Doing all that, could you believe it's this one dude uh started out very, he was a health person, he ate health food, and then something happened and he decided to do the mukbang, whatever how you pronounce it, and eat a ridiculous amount of food, and junk food at that. And they're obese. Uh, yes, I think he has over 1 million subscribers. Yeah, some of these people have over 1 million subscribers. But people, you think 10 years down the road, people are going to remember him? The dude that did all these things to shock people so they could get views, could get sponsorship. And you think he's going to live that long? I mean, no one has a guarantee about anything. Is it worth it, people? Is it worth doing these things, uh, being a buffoon? What about that lady, the young black girl, the 25-year-old, who what it looks like decided to stay, at least according to the detectives, when the person uh, uh, went on, did a Google search to see, um, to do a Amber Alert. Does it cost money for Amber Alert to watch the movie Taken? It was about a kidnapping. Uh, or what was the other thing? It was countless other things that all seemed to suggest that everything she said and did was a hoax. This person had a what do you call it, a social media, and everything was like, look at me. Remember the the her website, or what do you call it, her social media pages, everything was about a glamour shot. Look at me, look at me. And she lived in a nice neighborhood. She wasn't a poor girl. She rode around in a red Mercedes. The insurance on that car. Getting a red car is the most expensive insurance policy you can get for a car. A sports car, a red sports car. Yeah, you pay more money according to the color of the car and the make of the car. Oh, you bet. She had it. But she wanted more. She only 25 years old and she doing that? You think people are going to respect her? Oh, she also had Googled getting a one-way ticket to, get this, Tennessee. Does she want to become a Nashville, Tennessee singer? Why she want to go to Tennessee? Nashville. Why would she do stupid? Why? She thought she could be a movie star or a musician going there? A one-way ticket. All these things suggest that everything she did was staged. Or about the baby. Remember, she said she saw a look like an infant. What do you call it? A toddler wearing a diaper and a T-shirt, and she followed the baby. I mean, the thing, the toddler, for 600 yards. That is equivalent, as the detective said, 6 football fields. 6 of those things. So a baby, a toddler, is going to, again, the lady allegedly is following the baby 600. How did this baby walk that fast? They have on camera that I don't know any toddler that can walk that fast for that long. And then she said that she was grabbed. What happened to the baby? I mean, the toddler. And they took her and they uh, put her through, what do you call it, a fence. They he the alleged kidnapper carried her over the fence. Well, who was carrying the baby? So you got a fat ass woman. Okay, she was no skinny girl. She was a fat ass woman, and I say it like that to shame people who think they can do things and lie to people. You know, yes, I am shaming behavior of that. She had access to anything she wanted. She lived in a nice neighborhood, clean neighborhood, had a fancy red Mercedes. Um, she had things, and she felt the need to, I think, attention seeking or to get back at her boyfriend, allegedly. That was rumored. So, how the hell is she, being a fat ass woman like she? How could a man, a kidnapper, carry her and an infant, I mean, a toddler, over a fence and then put both of them in a 18-wheeler car? People, does this make sense to you? This woman, in my opinion, again, never met this woman that allegedly did these things, allegedly, and the illusion, she wanted to create an illusion, I believe, what was considered successful, to create a reality that she was somebody, that and she wanted attention, and it consumed her to such a degree, and that when push came to shove, when the authorities examined, had access to her cell phone, her her social media accounts, and that she was on the internet, they have access to all that. She didn't think that they would get access to that. Everything's out the bag. Those detectives know exactly, but they were, but they were being kind to her, and they didn't out her about this other personal information that they knew about her. They said they didn't want to embarrass her. But as detectives, they had to give the information regarding, you know, of her searches, or Google searches, of this or that, you know, and um it's gonna, it's gonna come out. So people, what is successful? Is she a success? This alleged person that was kidnapped, and now you gotta, you know, I think people like her should just come clean and say, I got caught up in the illusion and what was considered successful, and I wanted to create a reality that I was somebody. Don't be like her or other people like her. Um, Learn to enjoy yourself. I want to learn to enjoy myself. I want to go outside and learn to really enjoy the time I do have. I'm not guaranteed anything in life. And in conclusion to this live stream, that maybe you have to decide, keep your bar low enough to, and just be a happy person. Be happy. Be happy. And maybe you can have, your reality is, hey, make yourself happy. Be good to yourself and be good to others around, because you may need their help in the future. Be kind to people. Be kind to people, because you may need help in the future one day. Enjoy what you do have. Enjoy your little pets. Hug them, kiss them, and learn how to smell the roses. I want to go outside today if it's not too hot, and enjoy the time I do have. I thank you all for listening. I'm sorry, that's my computer. I thank you for this time to share with you about my journey, about, my asking the question, Am I successful? My journey into reality and illusions. The illusion of what is to be considered successful, the different challenges you have with different jobs, the different people on the jobs, and the illusions about race and who's considered successful, who's not successful. Hey, all of us are a work in progress. So, again, I thank you for everything. And um, if you like this content and you want to support this channel, you may feel free to PayPal me, and to if you to do so, if you have a PayPal me account, a PayPal account, um, you go to my channel, Spirit Journey, and on the top right of the banner of my channel, you see my PayPal me link. Just click on the link, follow the prompt, and any amount would be greatly appreciated. Again, this is a free will offering if you choose to decide. I thank you in advance for any support, even a smile or thumbs up would be just as appropriate and thanked. Okay, thank you again, and may you enjoy this beautiful, beautiful Sunday. I think it's the afternoon now. Yeah, this Sunday. Peace, love, joy, and harmony to you. Until next time. Peace, people. Peace. Bye bye.